2020 City Council meeting. It looks like we have a quorum. Ms. Sandy, if you would call the roll.
Davis, St. Columbia, Crockett,
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Mr. Etherly is going to be a little late. Ms. Ford. Okay, Ms. Ford's here. That gives us 3 council and the mayor makes 4.
We welcome the Helena-West Helena world, and I think KJIW is also on board, and we want to thank them and their listeners for attending tonight, and any of our guests who we'll probably get to later this evening. Ms. Sandy has sent out the minutes for July the 21st. We'll give you a minute to look at those minutes, make sure you've seen them, see if you have any questions or changes. If not, I'll take a motion in a second to adopt those minutes.
I was not in that meeting, so you're not gonna have enough people to vote on.
Well, Ms. Crockett, were you at the August 18th meeting?
I can't remember this or that. Oh,
Well, let's move over to the August 18th meeting. Do we have enough people to vote for those, to adopt those? Give everybody a second. August 18th.
The only one absent was Ms. Ford. So
but we only have, the rest of the people are not here.
yeah, they're not here. We don't have enough, Mayor.
Okay. We'll try to circle back to that here. It looks like Joe St. Columbia is coming on, so let's give him a second.
I just got on. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question too. Since just because we are on virtual, we don't do the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
No, ma'am, we haven't since we've been doing Zoom, just because it seemed a little awkward to do it. But we certainly do what the will of the council is to do. Mr. St. Columbia, are you on?
Yes, sir. I think I am.
We're looking at the minutes for July the 21st and August the 18th. And we have a quorum, but we didn't have enough people to vote to adopt those minutes who were present at those meetings. So if you were present at the July the 21st, August 18th meeting, and you've had a chance to look those over.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay, Mr. St. So it was the last meeting, was that August 18th? No,
Yes.
it was.
Yes.
So Mr. St. Columbia makes a motion that we adopt the minutes for August 18th. Is there a second? Do I hear a second? Anybody? Okay.
Second.
I didn't catch who that was. Who was that? Who was that seconded the motion? Mr. Franklin, was that you? Okay. I'm being told on message that was Mr. Franklin who seconded the motion to adopt.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion? If not, call the roll.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Yes.
Davis, Ms. Ford, Etherly, Mayor.
Aye, or yes?
Yes, 4 yeses.
Motion passes. Okay, let's back up to the minutes of July the 21st. Do we have a quorum present who were in attendance at that meeting? And if so, have you read the minutes? Have any questions or changes?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Franklin moves adoption of the July 21st minutes, and Mr. St. Columbia seconds the motion. Any other discussion? If not, call the roll.
Etherly, Ford, Davis, Crockett,
Abstain.
Franklin,
Yes.
St. Columbia.
Yes.
That only gives me 2 yeses from the council, and the mayor would make a third, so that's not enough.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. We'll come back to the minutes of July 21st if we have time. If y'all remind me, don't let me forget. All right. Moving on down the agenda. The next item is the treasurer's report for July that was emailed August 31st. Mr. Turner, you're recognized.
Well, I actually sent them a August treasurer's report by email, so I hope they get it. I sent it sometime this afternoon, so that's the one I'm going to be discussing. It'll just be brief. So far this year, sales tax revenues continue to exceed projections so far, and we had some discounts from our lot fee benefits. Lot fee has been giving us discounts for the last couple of years. I think it's going to amount to a couple of $100,000 this year. So with those increased sales tax revenues and the discounts from lot fee, so far this year we've been operating at a gain up to this point in a general fund through August, and so we're maintaining operations pretty well at this point. There are a couple of other items that I want to discuss with the city council regarding some appropriations, overtime appropriations for the police department and the fire department. The police department, Ms. Halbert had received a grant. I don't know exactly who it's from, and maybe she can elaborate a little bit more on who the grant is from, but we had a grant for overtime expenditures. And so that grant is to be used for overtime that exceeds what we budgeted. So it can be used for overtime that was already spent for what was budgeted. It has to be for what was exceeded. And I need the council to appropriate those funds, to add those funds to the current budget of $100,000. I think those funds amount to $28,006. And so I was wanting to ask the council to add those to the police department overtime appropriations to increase their overtime from $100,000 to $128,006. And we do, and like I said before that, those funds come from a grant that Ms. Halbert obtained for us, and we've already received some grant reimbursements for overtime so far. Those are $20,000 this year. So I need the council to add those to the appropriations. Also, the fire department, we need to add some additional money to the fire department.
No more light.
The fire department needs about $8,000. Let me see. The fire department needs $8,061 for the month of August. And their overtime has been really great so far over the last couple of months. Most of that $8,000 is from just regular scheduled overtime that comes actually from having a 24-hour shift in a 28-day cycle. And like I told the council before, every 28 days, 4 hours of overtime that just comes from that results from a 28-day cycle with a 24-hour shift. And so that had amounted to about a little over $3,000 for the shift overtime. And so from the runs that they had, off-duty runs, and they've had a couple of COVID scares. No one from the department, no one from the fire department actually contracted COVID, but they had come in contact with some people and they had to self-quarantine, and we had to wait for the test results. So that kind of increased overtime a little bit. And we have a couple of filing that out for medical reasons that aren't COVID related. And so I think that's great to only have $5,000 in overtime compared to $20,000 and $30,000 that we were having earlier in the year. And so to bring those guys to zero, of a budget now, so I need another $8,000 for those guys. And in the district court, I've spoken to you guys before about attorneys that were hired, that were contracted by the city to help Attorney Valley with some conflicts of interest. And so we need some additional appropriations in the district court also to help cover those additional costs. And those appropriations, if you did it for the rest, right now they're only $3,000 over budget. But if you went on and appropriated what I've projected that they need for the rest of the year, that would come out to be about $25,500. And so sometimes thing, if you want to we can do it the next council meeting, that's fine. If you have any questions about it, you can call me, but if you'd like to do it tonight, that's fine also. I think that's about it.
Any questions for Mr. Turner?
Yeah, I have one. Hey, Mr. Turner.
Yes, sir.
My question is, you with the you was talking about the money for the police department. Can that money, can the overtime money that Ms. Helen applied for, can it go to police and fire, or is it specifically for fire?
You can ask Ms. Haber, but I believe it's only for fire. I mean, only for police department. I think that's what the grant was for. But Ms. Haber can apply for.
The grant that I applied for was a DOJ grant that we were notified about when COVID began, and it's to supplement. I mean, we could choose the project, but we opted to do overtime for police, and then also some supplies and equipment that we would need that were COVID related. The total amount of the grant was $38,500, I believe.
I remember some about the grant, but I didn't know it was, because remember I had asked you all about the overtime for the police and the fire, and I think you all applied for something that would cover both. My thing is, they're both emergency needed people. I mean, emergency needs. So I was hoping that instead of us having to try to find some more money to appropriate, we could use it to help both departments. But that was my thing. And then, Mr. Turner, you also mentioned about district court. Remember when I remember Judge King talked to you and me both about the district court clerks raises. He had spoken with you and me about that. Am I right, Mr. Turner? So that's and I think, Mayor, you left the last meeting that we had to do with the fishing tournament. You left to handle that business. I think Mr. Etherly did put it on the agenda to discuss tonight. I'm not seeing that. That's just my thing. Trying to make sure everybody, get what they need to have. But Mr. Turner, I want to tell you thank you for your hard work and getting this budget. I'm trying to do too much. Trying to get everything to us, the treasury report to us. And I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Appreciate that, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And I want to also just take a second to point out how many hours Helen is Ms. Halbert's put on this project, on that grant project. So, we need to show our appreciation to her. She's done a lot of time, and there are a lot of meetings, a lot of long, boring meetings on that stuff. Mr. Turner, would you like to recommend? I know these are mostly resolutions, right? On the overtime and on the attorneys, city attorneys.
Well, it's also for Judge King, because we pay a portion of his salary to the state. It's for and about $6,754 is for Judge King, and about $15,000 is for the attorneys. And that would help out through December because they're under contract. So we know it.
And we have the money, and I think you pointed out earlier, we have the money to pay that.
Yes, we've had, like I said, if we take it from anywhere, we just take it from the discounts that we've been getting in lot fee. Lot fee has been giving us discounts for the police and fire department. I think it's about $200,000, and it's like they don't pay the employees still pay their portion, but we don't. The city doesn't have to pay our match up until to about, I think, $198,000 or something like that. So that discount can be used to fund these appropriations.
Good. So, Ms. Turner, are you asking the council if they're ready to do it, to pass a motion to approve the increase?
Yes, I would like for them.
Overtime for police and fire, and also for the city attorneys.
Yes, I would like for them to approve 8. Let me double check. I would like for them to approve $8,061 for the fire department, $25,500 for district court, and $28,006, which is those grant proceeds that Ms. Helen got for us. And I would like that's for the police department.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any questions?
Yeah, Chris Franklin again. Mayor, if we're gonna, I mean, I see all this on the agenda, but we're gonna approve that. You know, we got a couple of other things we should look at as well. And like I said earlier, Mr. Turner and I both was in a meeting with Judge King, and then you got some more people who have been doing extra work who need to be compensated. So before we do it, we need to try to look at some people as a whole. Mr. Martin has retired. The ladies in the office have been doing his job, extra work. We have code enforcement issues. We have a lot of things. I would like to see us have some kind of workshop or something to try to take care of everybody, not just to cover people, because everybody is doing the same thing. I know one of these is a contract that needs to be taken care of, but you got some more people who have been put on hold about some things. I think we should have some kind of workshop or something, to try to take the load off. Everybody has had since the COVID. People have different roles to do, and people have retired and have left. I think people want to be compensated as well as the people who getting overtime and things like that. I think we need to look at all this as a whole before just doing this or whatever. That's just me. I'm just one person. I'm just trying to make sure we take care of everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Joe St. Columbia, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
This is completely new money that he's asking for us to appropriate. Is that correct? Did I understand?
As far as the police department is concerned, yes, that's a grant that Ms. Halbert got from the DOJ, Department of Justice. And so those are new monies. The other one for the fire department and the police department and district court, I would just like to transfer some money, some appropriations from either the fire department or the police department's lot fee discounts that we've been receiving so far, because we know we won't exceed those budgeted amounts. And I'd like to take some of those budgeted amounts for the fire department, police department that are discounted by lot fee, and add those to the fire department's budget appropriations and district court's budget appropriation.
Okay, well, my next question was, I know Mr. Franklin brought up a good point there. Do we have any others that we need to appropriate while we're doing all this, or Is that all that we really absolutely need to do?
But right now those are the most pressing. And then I suggest that I think I had spoken with Mr. Franklin. I think I had spoken with Mr. Franklin about. I know I've spoken with the mayor and the city clerk and Ms. Howard about starting. I plan on starting to do my budget projections, revenue projections this month. And instead of just preparing the budget, getting it to you guys by December 1st, and then giving it to you after December 1st, my intention is to get the city council involved. He meets sometime this year, sometime in October, right after I get the projections done, and to get the city council involved a little bit more earlier. And so that would probably be a good time during that time to discuss raises for everyone else. Judge King did come into my office, and Mr. Franklin was in my office, and he did give his approval for members in his in the district court to receive raises. Yeah,
Sure.
so that's
But
that can be discussed during budget workshop. Like I said, I want to get those start budget workshops sometime in October.
I think that's a great idea. I think we need to start earlier this year. We
Yes,
have
sir.
passed. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Turner, with that being said, you know, Judge King, his term ends. So he was trying to give the people that were there what he suggested to you and me that was on paper. So, I mean, I understand that you're saying wait till budget workshop time, but, you know, he already told the staff that's already there that he was,
Yeah.
you know, he did he not approve, show me what he approved on paper? He gave
But
me,
Yeah.
right. So
He was okay
that's right. So that's just, I mean, these people have done a job, you know, they, you know, and I think that he told them that, and I kind of would like to see, you know, if my employer told me that I was due a raise and it passed, I'd kind of want to see, you know, that happen. And I'm just one person, but, you know, like I said, you know, we got to take care of all our employees, and like they said, the judge is the person who does their raises, and I'm kind of like trying to get everybody where it needs to be. Even the with Mr. Martin retiring and the people in the office taking on more responsibility, and I don't know if the mayor has decided with a new human resource person or what, but people are handling, you know, and money's just sitting there. I don't know if he's gonna get somebody or not, but hey, I think we need to all this stuff that we need. Not having meetings kind of put everybody behind. I think before people decide to cancel a meeting, we should have some form of discussion so the council and the media will not be so far behind and don't know what we're talking about. I don't think we should cancel a meeting. I think meetings should be held, even if it's just to discuss finances or something like that, because we're behind. This is the first meeting in the last month, almost a month. So I think we need to kind of keep it going, even if we just, whatever we got to do. I just don't like to be so far behind.
thank you, Mr. Franklin. Any other comments or questions from the city council? I would suggest maybe taking those items one at a time. Some of them could wait for a future agenda. Some of them might. And Mr. Turner, you might have to help me here, but the grant for the police overtime, does that, then the other issues are the budgetary issues. The fact that we haven't, we're in the last quarter, so it's, we've been dealing with this all year, but we don't have an amended budget. So do we have to do something for fire or police because of that? In other words, that would make it necessary to do something tonight, I guess is the question.
Yeah, as far as the police is concerned, we received the funds. I'm not sure if the council, I believe that the council needs to appropriate the funds. Even though we were receiving funds, they still need to tell us that it's okay to spend it for that. So even we are receiving the grant money, they need to appropriate those funds.
So maybe, I'm sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
They need to appropriate those funds. particularly for the police.
So let's
I
take
would
those,
like for-
let's take those are kind of four things, I think, but let's take them one at a time. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the overtime for the police department that was approved for the city of Helena-West from a U.S. Department of Justice grant?
So moved.
Joe St. Columbia second.
Mr. Franklin moves and Mr. St. Columbia seconds a motion to approve the appropriation for the police department and the amount of the Department of Justice grant that was successfully awarded the city. Is there any other discussion? If not, call the roll. Ms. Sandy?
Davis, St. Columbia,
Yes.
Crockett, Franklin,
Yes.
Etherly,
Yes.
Forward,
Yes.
Crockett, and Davis. You have 4 yes, 2 absent.
Crockett, yes.
Okay, 5 yes.
Thank you.
Davis, okay,
Can I add, Miss Ramsey? I'd like to add something.
okay,
The appropriations need to actually be for the entire grant. The entire grant was $38,596.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I was asking in particular for the overtime for the police department, but we need to appropriate all of the funds actually for the
Okay.
PPE equipment, everything else. Yeah, so the whole grant needs to be appropriated.
okay.
So-
Sorry.
Do you need another motion just for that?
No, I don't think so. It was, I raised it
Clarify.
the amount of the DOJ grant that was awarded. So
Yeah.
Mr. Turner was just clarifying what that amount was. So I think we're good on that one. I just realized the fire department overtime is also on the agenda with an adjustment for base pay. And Chief Brown was going to present that later. Is that going to be a problem if we do the overtime part of that now or not? And up to y'all. And I don't know if Chief Brown is on yet or not. We could, I guess, move that if there's no objection. We could always move that ahead if he is here. Let me try to check. Or we can put it off until. I don't see him. Chief Brown, if you're on, let us know. I don't see him. What do y'all want? Do y'all want to wait and see if Chief Brown gets here to do the fire department?
I'd do it all at once if we could. Yeah.
Well, the overtime is part of that, and I think is Mr. Valley. Are you on?
Yes. Yes, I'm on.
Unless you think we can adequately, and Mr. Turner can adequately discuss the overtime and the base pay adjustment. We could do it now, or we could do it half and half, or we could do it later. It's up to y'all.
Well, the base pay is
I
still
don't
gonna
know.
require ordinance. So if you did that portion now, you can go ahead and do the overtime now. But we're going to bring the base pay ordinance back at the next meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and do the overtime now. And if there's no objection to that, Mr. Turner, you want to reiterate what that is? Or remind everybody?
They went over, and we didn't have the meeting, so we didn't get a chance to discuss it at the last meeting because the last meeting was canceled. Now it's $8,060, and like I said, a little over $3,000 of that was for just scheduled overtime that they can't avoid anyway, just because our shifts, 28-day cycle, they're going to have over at the end of the month, no matter what. And that's about what it is every month, depending on how many, if we're fully staffed or not. So it was a little over $3,000. So that means about $5,000 of it was for off-duty runs for the firemen. And they had not a lot, but a few COVID scares. No one actually got COVID, but they came into contact with some people that had it, and they had to self-quarantine until they got their test results back. And so they had to get some overtime because of those reasons. And so, like I said, I think that's pretty good compared to $8,000 in a month compared to $30,000 earlier in the year. And so I would just like for them to appropriate those $8,000 for the fire department.
Okay, Mr. Turner's asking for 8,000 even, is that?
$8,060 and $8,060.
So move.
Ms. Crockett makes a motion. We appropriate, pass resolution to appropriate the amount Mr. Turner mentioned for overtime for the fire department. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Ms. Ford seconds the motion. Any other discussion, questions? If not, call the roll.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Crockett,
Yes.
Davis, Ford,
Yes.
Etherly,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent.
Yes, thank you. The next, I think there may be 2 others. The next one was
Just one.
the city attorney issue. Is that right?
Yes, that would be, yes, sir. That would be for, like I said, we pay the state for portion of Judge King's salary. That's about $1,500 a month that we pay. Let me see. About $1,700 a month. And we have some attorneys that help, that we've contracted with his conflict of interest, when he has a conflict of interest. And so we're over budget by $3,245 right now. And so to get us through the rest of the year, the contractual obligations that we have to those attorneys and what we have to pay for Judge King would amount to $25,500. And so I'd like the council to appropriate $25,500 for district court to get us through the remainder of the year.
That would come out of district court funds, right?
Yes.
So move.
Mr. Franklin moves a motion of $25,500 appropriation for district court for the attorney's fees and judge's fees.
Who made a motion?
Mr. Franklin.
Oh.
Second.
St. Columbia second.
Mr. St. Columbia seconds the motion. Any discussion or questions about the motion? Okay, call the roll. Cindy.
Etherly,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Davis, Crockett,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
St. Columbia.
Yes.
Ms. Davis, did you come back online? Okay, thank you. That's 5 yes.
Motion passed. There was kind of another one. What I was going to say was last year, the council requested that Judge King come before the council with requests for his staff. And so when I was asked about it, I said, no problem, as long as Judge King will come to the council and make that request. I haven't actually talked to Judge King or met with Judge King. And some of what I've heard tonight, I didn't know, but I'm more than willing to ask him to be on the agenda for the next meeting to make that request. If there's no objection, and some of y'all that know Judge King or see more than I do, impress on him the importance of.
Well, Mayor, and I have to interrupt with Mayor. Me and Mr. Turner both, Judge King told us both that he would not appear, but he had signed something and told both of us that if we could handle that, that would be fine. Now, I don't think that, I don't think it's kind of fair to the employees that their supervisor has submitted something and has told me and Mr. Turner that he was fine with it. He came out of court to have a discussion with me and Mr. Turner. And so he was like, can you just come down to the treasurer's office? And I told him, I said, you do better by telling the treasurer so we can have, me and the treasurer can be in this together. When you say it's fine, he said it was fine and he had no problem with it. He gave Derek, am I truthful about this? He gave me and you the paperwork to saying it was fine, what he had given his people, and hey, that's what he wanted to do. So I don't think that we should have to, they all the drama that happened with district court before, I don't think it was necessary. But we're here now. I think that, Mayor, you know as well as I do that I'm not going to bring something up and it's false. The treasurer as well know that Judge King said he was not going to appear. He had told me and Mr. Turner to take care of the issue, and that's why I asked for it to be put on the agenda to take care of it. Mr. Turner, am I correct with this?
He didn't actually sign anything, but he gave me a list of what he thought that each employee in district court should be making.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, I understand that Mr. Turner and Mr. Franklin knows what those amounts are, but I'm not sure. I can't speak for anyone else, but I have no clue what those amounts are. So I know I won't be voting on it tonight.
Yes, ma'am. I can get you those. Like I said, I was waiting for it to come on the agenda. I didn't realize it was on the agenda today. What I told Judge King was that, it's okay that you agree with it, but, ultimately the city council has to vote for it. And so I have that information. I can email it to you tonight or tomorrow morning, or if you want it closer to the next council meeting. But he did give me a list, and I wasn't aware that it was on tonight's agenda.
Actually, it wasn't, so you're okay. But if there's no objection, we can put it on the next agenda in writing.
Actually, Mary,
hold on just a second. I haven't seen anything in writing, and I haven't talked to Judge King. And it is a precedent-setting issue because in the past, we weren't going to make any decisions on salaries unless he came before the council. So if we do that without him coming before the council, that's your decision, not mine. But it is a precedent-setting decision. So I'm just making you aware of those things. But if you want to put it on the next agenda and you want to put it, get something more official in writing to the council from Judge King, then I'm more than willing to agree with that.
Well, Mayor, actually, you had left to go to the fishing tournament to meet with those people about the fishing tournament. Mr. Etherly did put it on the next agenda because we had talked about it. You wouldn't know because you left. Mr. Etherly, I'm sure I asked Mr. Etherly to put that and something else on the agenda. So it was supposed to be put on the agenda because the last meeting that we had, you had to step out to meet with the people about the fishing tournament. So Mr. Etherly became mayor pro tem and decided, I had told him about what was going on. He said, we'll put this and another issue on the agenda. Am I right, Mr. Etherly?
I think we invited Judge King to appear, but
that was in the past, Mayor.
Well, if I may say something, the last time I talked to Judge King, he told me he was on his way out of town. He said, I'll let you know when I can be there. He did not tell me he could attend a meeting, so I didn't put it on an agenda with the understanding that he would tell me when he was coming. So I'll take blame for it not being on the agenda.
well, and I don't want to. I don't think anybody should have fingers wagged at him. I think Judge King's responsibility is to get us something in writing for the whole council, the mayor, everybody. And if he chooses not to appear, that's certainly his decision. And if it's the council's decision to approve his request, then that's the council's decision. I'm not, but right now there's nothing in writing from Judge King to me or the council in general, and he's not here. So I would suggest we do put it back on the agenda, ask for it to be sent to the council in writing under his signature, and then whether he appears or not, y'all can make that decision. is there any objection to going forward in that way?
Fine with me.
Okay, hearing no objection. Thank you, Mr. Turner. I had no idea you were going to be doing this much heavy lifting tonight, but you did a good job. Okay, and I'm going to try my very best to get through this. It has been a few weeks since we met. So I'm going to rip through these. This is basically a project update on a variety of things. I'm going to touch on them, and then y'all can ask me whatever questions you want to ask me. You were emailed earlier the first federal audit we've had done as a city in a long time because we haven't met the threshold required for a federal audit. And I'm proud to say that it was a good audit. So our first federal audit was a success in terms of reviewing how we handled the federal funds for the variety of projects. I won't go into those things. They're all on our website for those who, for you and anybody else, hwh.ar.gov, and would welcome or invite anybody to look at that. The Highway 49 project, I got an email today from the state saying that October is when they anticipate to do the finishing work. The reason the signs are around town, if you get asked about it, is because they have a finishing phase. They come and fix a few odds and ends that aren't quite fixed yet. And by the way, I mean, there are 2 or 3 that I'm probably aware of, but feel free to submit those to me to go over with them when they finally get here. They're behind this year because of all the COVID stuff, but they told me today it'd be in October. So some of those issues will get resolved in October and the signs will be removed and the project will be complete. The National Resource Conservation Service and the Delta Regional Authority, well, let me start with the Delta Regional Authority has approved $150,000 to go towards the completion of the Sewer Lagoon project that is on the east side of town. And the National Resources Conservation Service agreed to put us on an emergency order for their agenda in the morning. I'm going to go up to Little Rock. But the staff has recommended an additional $70,000 to go towards the completion of the Sewer Lagoon issue, which was, as you know, because it started before I became mayor, is at a critical place. So that's very good news. We should be able, if weather permitting, we should be able to tie that project off for good this fall. And provided that we maintain them correctly in the future, we shouldn't have any problem with that. But as you recall, this was a serious emergency in the last administration for sure. So that's good news. Andre, I don't, hold on, I'll come back to this. Mr. Collier brought to me today, and my apologies for emailing it out. It would require your approval to do this now, but he asked that we approve funding out of the water department of $6,151.97 for rebuild of lift station number 5, pump number 1. This was emailed late this afternoon. I didn't get it till late this afternoon. I asked him how long this could wait, and he didn't think it could wait till the next meeting. So I told him I would ask you and see what you said. We have 2 pumps, and this is Helena Crossing. This is the lift station that services that area. We have 2 pumps that alternate to keep the services running, and pump 2 was repaired several months ago. Now pump 1 has been out for a couple of weeks, according to Mr. Carter, and needs to be repaired as well. And once that repair is made, then lift station 5 at at Helena Crossing should be good for a while, provided the maintenance crew does their job. So any comments or questions on that? It was emailed late this afternoon. My apologies again for the lateness. We can wait if it's your choice, but I promised Mr. Carter I would bring it up.
So move.
Mr. Franklin moved adoption or approval of, I didn't catch the second.
Second, Ford.
Ms. Ford, a motion to approve a contract negotiated by the Helena Municipal Sewer and Water Department with Tencarva Machinery Company out of Memphis for $6,151.97 to replace pump number 1 at lift station number 5. Are there any other questions or comments about that?
This is not a job that has to be bidded out.
No, ma'am, but it's over my 5,000 spending limit.
It's in the sweet spot. Go above 5,000, less than 7,500. 7,500 requires to be bid out.
Any other questions, comments? Again, my apologies for the lateness of doing this. Ms. Sandy, call the roll.
Etherly,
Yes.
Etherly. Forward.
Yes.
Forward.
Yes.
Davis. Crockett,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
5 yes, 1 absent.
Motion is approved. Thank you very much. We'll move forward on.
Can I say this? Ms. Davis is on this call. She's having a problem with her mic.
Okay,
She's actually voting, but no one's hearing.
okay, okay.
Well, that's good because one of the next subjects is one she asked for, but I'm almost there. The Corps of Engineers and the Seawall project, 2 big issues, maybe 3, really quickly. Federal judge, the consolidated grain, and Mr. Valley is more qualified than I to talk about this probably, but so chime in here, Mr. Valley, whenever you feel like it. Sued the city over my implementation. We put up signs, which our ordinance requires, and I think state law requires that we put up signs that bar trucks from going down Arkansas Street. So we put up signs, and I don't think we gave actual tickets, but we did do warnings. Consolidated Grain filed a lawsuit against us in federal court to, I'm sorry, what's it called, Andre? To stop, to cease, by cease and desist until we could have a larger hearing on the issue. One of the weak points in the argument on our side was that I think the ordinance says 1-ton trucks, which today includes an awful lot of trucks. And the Municipal League is our attorney on it, recommended that we stop enforcement on Arkansas Street pending future litigation. And tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Mr. Valley, the league attorney, the Corps attorney, and the attorney for the Helena Improvement District, which is the levy, are having a meeting to discuss where we go from here. The second issue on that is we may not be ready for Mr. Valley, but it's the Corps is asking us to, we have an old easement that we no longer use, but it is an easement in a right of way that the Corps needs us to waive in order for them to complete their project. Mr. Valley, you want to talk any more about that?
Well, it's a couple of things. I met Mr. Collier this afternoon because I thought he had documents. I don't have it. We need the legal description for that old easement. And we also would have to, city council would have to vote for us to authorize them to do it because we have a right to it. Now, it covers a couple of things because until that's surveyed and we have the parameters for it, I don't know what it is. I don't know how it would affect the Consolidated Grain. I'm talking about 2 issues at once intentionally. Consolidated Grain sued us for an injunction. They were upset with the mayor posting the signs. Consolidated Grain, as the mayor's updated you before, they have Schooler was there before them, and they purchased Schooler. and they placed those 3 metal grain bins on top of the levee. It's part jurisdiction of Helena Improvement District, City of Helena-West Helena, as well as the Corps Engineers, United States Corps of Engineers. And so the issue is they're suing us about that, about the mayor trying to restrict them going up and down the road. And the municipal league advised us that let's stop enforcement because we have bigger fish to fry. The bigger fish to fry is the issue of what we need to do on that, about those bins. Now, within that, the Corps of Engineers needs us to either abandon or authorize them to use our easement. I don't know which one, but I need a legal description for that. So I have to give Mr. Ken Weiland to get that. If we're giving it away, the city council must do so by resolution vote and with the particular description. Now, time is of the essence. The mayor advised me of that. The Corps engineers knowing a bit about it, but I don't have any documents on it. I met with Benzine Collier this afternoon about it, and he only had an affidavit about ownership, but not a legal description or any of that. And so that's what we are on it. It's a project, as the mayor advised you before. The Corps engineers is not trying to get them to tear down the 3 grain bins at this time, but they're going to spend approximately, what, $20 million, Mayor, to reroute this?
An additional $8 million to go around Consolidated.
Yeah, so it's costing, they're eating $8 million to try to accommodate Consolidated Grain, and Consolidated Grain has been really, well, I don't want to say what I said because people listen to it, they can hear the tape, but they sent us a letter saying that they moved, but they want the city to pay them $1.2 million. That didn't happen. It's $1.2 million is correct. Is that right, ma'am?
At least, and probably more.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, that's what the letter said. At least $1.2 million to move property that they placed there, and they did not have any approval for schooler or them being an assessed interest relating to it. So that's what we are. But we would need a legal description before I can do a release from the council. The council would have to approve it, and time is of the essence. So I will contact Mr. Ken Weiland, the engineer, to see where our easement is and what's the particular description so we can give them the proper authorization to move forward. I know I talked about 3 things at once, but if you have any questions, please ask them.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Valley. And tomorrow is an important meeting. I don't know how much we can talk about it, but anyway, thank you, Mr. Valley. Thank you for all your hard work on that. Real quickly, the Racial Equity Task Force has been meeting, still active and going strong, and they've asked me to do a proclamation on gun violence, which I intend to do. And Ms. Naomi Combs is here. I believe she's in attendance tonight. If she would like to speak to it at all, if there's no objection, I'd invite her to say something about it. Ms. Combs?
Yes, sir. There's a young lady by the name of Viola Turner who has shared with a friend of hers, Mr. Edward Delby, who's on the Racial Equity Task Force, her desire for Helena to have a gun violence awareness day or week or however we choose to celebrate it. And she has gotten a proclamation in Jonesboro. Her son was killed here. This is her hometown. And due to gun violence. And so she shared with us that June is Gun Violence Awareness Month. And she would like for our city to at least bring attention to the kinds of things that happen through this effort. And so we're trying to put together such a document and ask for your approval. We don't have it written yet.
Ms. Combs?
We don't have it written yet, but we do have a copy of the document from Jonesboro And we'd like to come back with it for you guys to approve it.
I got a quick.
Joe St. Columbia here with a question.
Just, I couldn't tell who was first, so just go ahead and start talking.
Okay, I'll speak up first. I'd like to have a copy of the Jonesboro issue prior to the meeting. We can, you know, so we can read it over before we have our meeting. That's all I had to say.
Mr. Franklin?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just trying to see, Mayor, we have Mrs. Shantae Jackson and Mrs. Alice Edwards. They do something every year due to the coronavirus. They didn't get a chance to do anything. Their sons were also killed by gun violence. And Ms. Collins, I was trying to see, can you all reach out to them as well? Because they have been working on something annually. They didn't get to have anything this year due to the virus. And so Mrs. Alice Edwards and Mrs. Shantae Jackson, if you will, can y'all reach out to them, or I can get them to reach out to you all, because they always kind of do something. Mayor, I'm pretty sure last year you was in attendance of they had a walk from they did a parade last year, and they didn't get to do it this year because of the virus. They do it every year, so I think that'd be a good thing for those two ladies, Miss Jackson and Miss Edwards, to get with you all too, Mrs. Collins, if it's possible.
And to answer both of you, Mr. St. Columbia will be happy to provide all of the council members with a copy of the Jonesboro proclamation and our proposed proclamation. And then for Mr. Franklin, I'm a little hesitant to speak for the group, but I am of the opinion that we all think that the more the merrier. We'll be happy to have those ladies and Ms. Viola Turner all work together. I think it's a good idea, and I'll take it back to the council. And I would need you to help me with some contact information because I don't know either of the two ladies. Ms. Turner says that she comes before City Council every year and gets permission. And she said, you all know her. She comes and she does a workshop every year for youth for the last few years. I don't know her either. I have met her now, but I didn't know her prior to now. And so there's nothing that makes me think that wouldn't be a good idea. Chief Smith thought that it would be good to have a week of activities to bring attention to this issue. And so we're certainly open to all of that.
And Ms. Collins, you're absolutely right. We all do know Mrs. Turner. She does the Camp Albert every year as well. So you're right. We all do. She the sister of Mrs. Janice Williams that works at Southern Bank. So yeah, I'm familiar with her, and I'm pretty sure that she wouldn't mind working with those ladies because all three of their children, died of gun violence. So I would be more than happy to reach out to those ladies tonight after the meeting and send them your way.
Okay, thank you. That's great. I think it's a good idea. But I'm not a member of the council, of the task force.
It is a good idea, and maybe others as well we might not be thinking about. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much, and thanks again, as always, for your work. So we'll take that and put that on the next agenda, which is a proclamation regarding gun violence. And she's going to send out the Jonesboro, what they did in Jonesboro, and then we'll pick it up from there. All right, and the last thing, well, it's not the last thing, but Ms. Davis requested that the condemnation and demolitions be placed on the agenda. I'll say real quickly, and if she's able to speak, we'll do that if she wants to. Where is that? Yes.
I've been meeting with Code Enforcement Elma Gant. We have about 10 in the hopper. I didn't like the letter that they sent, so I prepared ordinances for condemnation for those properties, and I'm sending a copy of those to the landowners to make sure they have sufficient notice, and asking them to be placed on the second meeting in October. And those that don't respond, we can condemn those then. but I'm sending them a letter tomorrow to tell them that here your property is in violation. This is your final notice. You've gone through a code enforcement officer, it's made it to my desk. Here's a draft ordinance of the condemnation that's going to be on the agenda on X day, and you need to do something. We're going to condemn it next month. And so that's where we are. I've already met with Ms. Simpson and Ms. Simpson, my legal assistant, and Mr. Elmer Gantz, code enforcement officer. He's been working diligently on them, and we should start having them in the hopper pretty regularly here over the next 60 to 90 days, because they're filtering up to that point.
Yeah, and Ms. Valley, you just did a better job than I would have done. So thank you on that. And most of those 10 houses, I took a sort of a tour of with Greg Williams last week, and most of those are in West Helena. So we've done a lot of Helena that have gotten more attention. I think we've done some in West Helena, but most of the 10 coming up that Mr. Valley was talking about are in West Helena. So we're knocking away as fast as we can, but I'll stop there and see if Ms. Davis is able to be heard or has questions or comments. I guess you still having audio problems. So Ms. Davis, maybe if you're able to message us through this program, through Zoom, or any other way, then we'll try to, or if you can get audio later and you want to talk about this, we can bring it back up. The next item on the agenda is Airport Commission update, commission appointment. I'm very proud tonight to appoint Ms. Zipporah Mundy to the Airport Commission. Most of you already know Zipporah well. She may not know that she has an interest in aviation and has a long time interest in aviation. Eddie Schiffler, who is the chairman of the commission, I think he's also on here with us tonight, along with Ms. Mundy. And again, it's an honor for me to, Ms. Schiffler is the chairman of the commission and submitted Ms. Mundy as a candidate for an appointment. And I think all of us felt really good about it. So, but the council has the job of approving these appointments. Ms. Mundy or Mr. Schiffler, would either one of you like to say anything?
Mayor, we're excited to have Zipporah come aboard. She attended a meeting today and has already taken on a couple of assignments to help us out. So I hope that the council will be supportive of her appointment.
And I would just like to say hello to everyone and thank you for having me. And I'm excited for the opportunity.
I move to accept the nomination of Mr. Zipporah Mundy for the Airport Commission.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Franklin moves and Mr. St. Columbia seconds the motion that we approve the appointment of Ms. Mundy to the Airport Commission. Any other questions or comments? If not, Ms. Sandy, call the roll.
Ford,
Yes.
Etherly,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Crockett,
Yes.
St. Columbia,
Yes.
Davis. I know she's having problems. I'll put her down for a yes, and if that's not it, I'll change it. That'll be 6 yes.
Well, let me just say that
Ms. Davis is asking to possibly get a copy of the addresses of those condemnation.
okay.
Certainly, there's no problem. I'll have Ms. Keith Simpson to provide it to you.
Really, we might as well just send those to the whole council. If there's,
That's fine.
Ms. Mundy, welcome aboard. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you, Mr. Schiffler. There's a lot of exciting going on out there right now. It's where we make a first impression, a lot of people. And it's extremely vital to have an important airport for our community. And I know Ms. Mundy will contribute a lot to that effort. So welcome aboard. Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on, I'd like to say something. With the airport commission, will you all start advertising that we do have a small airport here and start doing some advertising so people can come out and see our airport? Because until a couple of years ago, I didn't even know we had an airport. I always know they said airport, but I didn't know until I was a grown man to know we had actually an airport, a runway out there. Didn't know that, wasn't privileged to it until an attorney came in and he was like, I flew in. I was like, where? To the airport. So I didn't know. So maybe, we could start advertising, let local people know who've been here all their lives that we do have a local airport here, not for big planes, but we do have for, little private planes to fly into. So maybe we need to start advertising, let folks know they've been here all their life like I have. It's just a suggestion from me.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Any other comments or questions at this time? All right. Thank you, Ms. Mundy. Thank you, Mr. Schiffler. Thank you for your patience. It's a long meeting tonight, so we appreciate you hanging in there for us.
Thank you, everyone.
The next item is speed bump request, and we've discussed this before. And Ms. Sandy, I might have to relay our conversation, but my understanding is that the City Council has approved speed bumps and that the process is to submit the list of speed bumps, and of course the council members submits them also as well, and that the residents of the street get signatures. And by the way, I'm just telling you about our discussion. Y'all can say what you want, I guess, on this, but anyway, that the citizens on that street get other people to say they have no problem with a speed bump and then submit it to the council for approval. I have 3 or 4 at least requests to me. So the idea was to come up with since we have a website now, come up with a document, a one-page document that basically citizens can use to take it up and down their street and get signatures and present it to the council for approval. So I just wanted to get some input on that, really.
I have a question on that. Before they paved the street, and Kentucky Street. Kentucky Street used to have 2 speed breakers between between Anderson and Forest Lane. But when they paved the street, they removed the speed breakers and never put them back. Will they have to go through the same process?
I mean, what do y'all think? I mean, there's one on the Bridgeboro Neal Road that did not work well, and it was one of those prefab, and it basically just got beat to death and disappeared. I don't know where it went, but anyway, I think they might want another one. Times change. I kind of feel like the residents in that case, might want to chime in one way or another. They had a speed bump, so they know what it's like. They probably don't want the same kind of speed bump. But what do y'all think?
I think they ought to come back in after they've had one and it's gone, if they want to have it again, let them come back in and say, yeah, we want it again. That way it'll reiterate their feelings about it.
Any other input, comments, questions?
Well, I think that the people on Kentucky Street had talked to Mr. Hoskins when he was here, and they had been promised that the speed breakers would be put back, but that there was nothing done. So my question was only to see, do they just need to come and say that they want them? But it was supposed to be put back after they paved that street, and they didn't put it back.
Well, Really, I don't, that's the first I've heard of that, by the way. I'm sure it's true. I'm just saying I didn't know about it. But I really don't have a preference one way or another. I mean, a council in the past apparently has approved a speed bump in that place. It might be worth, depends on how long ago that was, I guess, might be worth having input again if things have changed or people, residents have changed. But I'm all ears. I don't really have a preference. We could just go ahead with putting a form on the website and trying to alert people to that. And if somebody comes forward and says, well, we had one and it was already approved, then y'all just decide on that case by case basis. Is there any, y'all have any problem with that? Have them fill out the form. Have them fill out the form, or unless it's already been approved. And I guess, you know, in this council term, I mean, if that's the case, I just got a message that we've had one that was already approved and not done yet. I think that's different, personally. If y'all have already approved one and it just hasn't been done yet, then I think we should just do it. But I do need to know what those are so we can make sure they do get done. If they haven't been approved, the point of the whole thing, I think Miss Sandy and I were talking, is to have something that we can all refer to. You know, go here, print this form out, get your neighbors to sign it, bring it to the council. We put it on a list, kind of like we do the condemnation thing, put them on there, invite comment, and vote accordingly.
Hey, man,
Mayor,
Go ahead.
when we do it on the website, could we please contact or get the specifications for the size and the length and an approximate cost of the speed bumps so the citizens will know? And we also need to make sure that any contractor that we use understands exactly what size they need to be, because in the past, some of them have been too high and we've had to go out and cut them down, and that's extra cost.
Does anybody happen to know, are there highway department specs for those kind of things that are
Yes,
out there?
there are.
So we might want to try and put a link to that or copy that with that form or something. So we'll look for that, and size, length, cost, and specifications.
Yes.
hey, but what I'm thinking about, when Oscar was here, we didn't go through all that.
You have
No.
the power to approve it without all that. So I don't think you have to do that. The question is, do you want to establish a process to do it that way?
I just feel that, you know, I don't live in other people's neighborhood, and I don't, you know, like on Anderson Street, there was someone put on Anderson Street because there's an autistic child, and he was crossing the street, but he never could get across because every time he turned around, they were speeding. So he put the speed breakers there. Then the city just one day came and took him up without any question. But I think that people know what they need in their neighborhood. I mean, you know, Austin used to measure, they wouldn't be that high because, you know, when people come out with a toolbox, they would jump up and down and disturb people. But it's something I think we should work at and try to see what is best for that area. That's just me, because the longer people wait, they're asking for things, and you know, it's a process. And I think, you know, sometimes, Mary, you could go out and see what the person's problem is and try to fix it that way. Because if they want a speed breaker, in Dallas, somebody's running through that speed, going real fast, you know, we'll have a lot of police presence. So, like, I was thinking that you all could, like, the sky cam has been over there on Kentucky Street for a while. Try to move that sky cam around from day to day to try to, you know, give people some rest from all that. That's just me thinking. I mean, you all have to figure it out. But I'm willing to, if they need a speed breaker wherever, I'm for it.
I've got about 4 that I've definitely visited the locations, talked with people. I feel very confident about supporting them. But when I brought this up, it was told it needed to come for the council, and so we started thinking about what's the best way to present it to the council. But it's up to you.
What neighborhood is it in? If they're for it, I'm for it. What neighborhood they want to go in? Tell me, and I'm for it.
Kind of spread out, actually.
Throughout the community, certain neighborhoods you want to go. Like, I had to call.
I've had probably 10 requests, but 4 that are actually city streets and not state highways where we can't.
So with the city streets, where are they located at so we can start? I mean, if you send me a list, I'll go out and look at it and I'll bring it back to the council to see what can we do. Because, I mean, a lot of this traffic is people getting these cars, and you have a lot of parades since the COVID that people are doing these parades, and it was, kind of stop a little traffic. So whatever I need to do, just let me know where you're going to put these speed breakers so I can get out and talk to people and see, what it is. I mean, but if they want them, if I'm telling you I want one on Anderson Street, that's just me and a couple people that said they want them on Anderson Street. I think, just put them there. And if people had a problem, we'll come back. But I think we need just, whatever people are asking for, get what they want.
Mr. Etherly?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to ask is what the process should be to install speed breakers, and I guess if you ask the question to 100 people, you might get several different answers. And I hate speed breakers. I just always have, and I imagine I'm not alone in that. And so my personal preference, I kind of like the idea of trying to find out what everybody thinks who's going to have to use them, because Ms. Davis pointed out the issue on DeSoto, and I had that same citizen who contacted me about it, and she really, really wants that speed breaker down. And we've already approved that one, but I'm using it as an example. That's not one that I would have to encounter on a daily basis, and so that's not one that personally affects me. But I can imagine that people who have to drive through it every day, some people might object to it. Now, we're not necessarily concerned about the people who don't live there, but for the people who live there, I think I kind of want to know what they think. And, if everybody wants it, if the people in the neighborhood think there's a danger that needs to be addressed, then certainly I wouldn't want to stand in the way of that. But at the same time, if by virtue of numbers, if we got 1 or 2 people that want one and the rest of the people don't want one, I would also want to take that into consideration.
And I don't want to sound like I'm trying to delay anything. I mean, if y'all want to give me the authority to just go do it, then and y'all give me the places your constituents want to put them, and y'all are okay with that, then I'll do it. But I also don't want to overstep my authority, and I was told that the council needed to approve them, so that's where I am on it. Why don't we do some combination of both? There's really nothing that prevents a city councilman from making a motion to approve a speed bump. So if someone doesn't go through the process, it's not really the end of the world for them. But we could also we could basically do both things. And I hope that the process is something that gets used. And if it does, they're going to have a better chance of getting it approved. And, that kind of homework probably should be done anyway. So I know we need to move on down the agenda. Let me just say, do y'all have any objections to doing it that way? We'll put something on the website. Encourage the use of the process. Of course, if any city council member at any time wants to make a motion to do something, you can. You don't have to go that route. But in the meantime, it would give us a process to use.
Well, you have to put it.
That sounds fine. I was just about to say, that sounds fine to me. I mean, that way it can get to the table faster, and if everybody feels comfortable with it, it can get approved. If they don't, then it can be, considered in a different manner. So just my thoughts.
Okay, well, with that objection then, unless there is an objection, we'll just go forward kind of in that spirit, and we'll put something online to give some direction to people, and at the same time And also let me add, if there are streets that have been approved by the council that we haven't done, please feel free to bring that to my attention so we can get it done. All right,
And Mayor, before you move on, even you put it on the city website. Helena-West has a website. See if you can put it on there as well. See, you got to get it out because some people don't have whatever. You make sure everybody get it. Even if you have to put it on the radio. KJIW is on the line. Make sure that they say, hey, listen, do a public service announcement so people can get it. So nobody can say they didn't hear it or they weren't aware of this, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't do we don't all do the same thing. Some people don't listen to the radio. Some people listen to the internet or whatever. Your Facebook page or the city's webpage. Put it out there to different entities so everybody can get it. You put it everywhere so people can get it.
And we'll print some and have them available at City Hall too. So. Okay, good suggestion.
Mayor Smith.
Yeah.
It's Chief Smith, Helena-West Police Department. Just a suggestion, maybe we could do a public safety survey, which we can get out. As everyone probably aware, I'm working with several churches on the community for change. And we could actually put those surveys out in everybody's doorstep and go back in those general areas that we have a breakdown on and get public opinion to get that information out, because everybody does not have internet, nor do they read the newspaper or anything like that. So we can get that information out, because it's just fair just seeing a friendly face and asking them what they actually want, especially on Springdale Road. That's one of our biggest problems. I remember with the past mayor, Mr. Hollowell, had mentioned something like that. Myself and the code enforcement and street and sanitation director go out and look at these areas, because we have a lot of problems, especially areas where school stops at, school bus stops. Those things, that information needs to get out there, and being out in the community and asking these individuals a full survey of what they feel, and then getting the data that the police department has in regards to where we're doing speed tickets and everything like that. That information needs to be obtained. Myself, Director Jones, and code enforcement, or whoever, need to present this data to the city council and say, hey, this is the information that we've received, and allowing the community to go out there and have a voice of what they need in those areas. And I think that would be just a good suggestion. A lot of people just want to talk and say, hey, this is what we actually need in that area. So I think a public safety survey, a little one page, along with all the other entities that we may use, the Helena-World, Facebook, or whatever, but just getting feedback and getting the proper data that we can be able to present to the council and say, hey, this is the information that we received, will probably be a little swift and more conclusive if we use that type of system. It's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Chief. All right, if there's no other discussion, we'll move to the executive order. It's extending the curfew. So the 120 days on the curfew, which is midnight to 5 a.m., expired last week. I signed an executive order to extend it, and specifically until tonight, so y'all can weigh in on what you would like to do. So I'm going to stop there and ask you what you'd like to do going forward on the curfew.
You want our thoughts of it, Mayor? I'm trying to listen to.
Yeah, I'm wanting your.
I think it's a good idea, but what I like to when you decide to, because I didn't get an email or anything on it, because I wasn't aware of it, and I think sometimes the delivery of it could be a little bit better. I mean, because I want to support it, because now with the kids are not being in school, they're going virtual, and 2 days of school and 3 days virtual. I think it's a good thing to have curfew to make sure that you can track the walkers, because you got a lot of walkers at night. Like I said, things are getting picked up out of folks' yard. I think anybody who's walking after a certain hour should be stopped and and just try to see where they're going, because it's rough out here, because items getting, a couple of my neighbors had a couple things stolen from them. I do think curfew is a good thing, but I think you should kind of keep us informed so because I did, personally, nothing against you, anybody, I just didn't know. So, I mean, somebody asked me about the curfew. I'm like, I don't know nothing about that. But sometimes you have to communicate. I wish that I've known so I could support it, but I support you on that. If no more questions, I move that we adopt the mayor's, the continue curfew ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin moves that we adopt the curfew ordinance, a curfew. Is that an ordinance or a resolution? I guess a resolution in support of the midnight to 5 a.m. curfew continuance. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second for it. I need to get to discussion, so I'll second.
Mr. Edley seconds the motion. Any other discussion or questions?
Yes, sir. For what period of time?
I think it's 120 days is the executive order. You could also make it a shorter period if you wanted to. They're projecting with the original motivation behind this was COVID, and they're projecting with the flu, with the flu coming this fall, that we're still pretty much in war mode, I guess, until at least the end of the year. So,
well, I guess we're expecting what is supposed to be the real second wave in the fall. I guess I have a question for Chief. Still here?
Yeah, Chief Smith.
Yes, sir.
Have we had very many curfew violations?
We've had several violations, but we've given out so many warnings to individuals. I say from April to probably up to this point, we had to actually write about 65 citations. Other than that, everybody pretty much know, because we always give a warning to individuals and we keep that information. So if we ever pull that individual back over again. But most of the time, like Mr. Franklin was saying, you just have those stragglers, those people that's walking at night, and those pretty much in the number areas. And what we've been doing is attempting to try to pick those individuals up, check them for any type of violations other than the curfew, and we give them a warning or so. But normally we see more activity probably around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when individuals start walking more on the number streets. Where we're asking individuals who work late at night to get off from like Doughboy, the chemical plant, somewhere like that, we're asking them to get a letter, or they can have it on their phone, a letter saying that they work from this time and they get off at this time. So when they're ever pulled over or approached by an officer, they can just show us that verification.
Okay, and I know we already have a daytime curfew for students.
Correct.
What has that been like? And I know this is getting a kind of aside from the conversation, but it just kind of triggered in my mind with the virtual school. Have we had very many daytime curfew violations?
No, sir, none whatsoever. Most of the time, they have to log on in at a certain time with the schools, and we've been keeping contact with actually the principal, the superintendent, to make sure that these children are not actually out in the streets and they've had any type of problems. But since the virtual schooling, we've had no activity of children being out. We see more juveniles are out and about probably after 2:30, between 2:30 and 3 o'clock. You see more children when the school let out. But other than that, we've had no violations at this time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments The motion's on the floor. Okay. All right, Ms. Sandy, if you would call the roll.
Ford,
Yes.
Etherly,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Crockett,
Yes.
St. Columbia, Mr. St. Columbia, Davis. I have 4 yes and 2
Okay.
didn't answer.
Motion passes, and we'll record the other 2. They're just, Ms. Davis says yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. Okay, now I know we have a very long agenda. I'm doing my best to get through it. Is Mr. Jones here? Present?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is a street sanitation update, variety of items, and then the base pay ordinance for CDL driver. Mr. Jones, do you want to take over?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm asking this body tonight to reconsider changing the base pay from 1013 for CDL drivers to 1313. Starting out, it won't be no new money. It's already in the budget. You know, they have to wait. I think after the first 180 days, y'all give them another $3. I mean, I've been interviewing now for the last 4 months. And right now, the starting base pay is $10.13, and I hadn't been able to hire a CDL driver. And we got 2 open positions available now. So I'm just asking if y'all can vote tonight to change the base pay from 1013 to 1313.
Any
Hey, Mr. Jones, how much is it after the probation? I thought we had taken care of this before.
I did too, Mr.
To make,
Franklin,
and I'm pretty sure we did, because
yes.
I thought you came here before and
I
with
did.
Pat Lenore, because she got $1 or something. Then you came. We took care of all this one night. I think y'all need to go back and
Yes,
check your
sir.
minutes
But
and
I
look
was
at it,
told
because
I had to,
well, hey,
you
Ms.
know,
Jones, I'm not to cut you off, but I thought we had did this because
yes,
you
sir.
had came before to say that you had a couple people that had quit, and you wasn't gonna hire one, but you needed to hire somebody. And I guess the guy you got quit, and now you got to hire 2 more. So I'm pretty sure that we had came because the landfill, you was trying to bring them at the same
Exactly.
thing the landfill was getting. So I thought we had did that. So I mean, I ain't been asleep.
It's my understanding we did, but you know, to get clarification on this, I'm asking that we do it tonight. You know, if y'all will vote for it tonight to change.
So how are you looking at it with your budget wise? I mean, how's your finances looking?
I mean, everything good. Like I say, this is no new money. I mean, it's already in the budget.
All right. So, Mr. Turner, if you can tell me, is everything good? Because I'll move to get what he need to keep moving.
I'm trying to get this.
Well, the issue still is you would need an ordinance. I think what happened, my memory served me correctly. You talked about this, and then the issue that keeps being is you have other departments that you were trying to do a base pay on, and you all wanted one comprehensive base pay, and that's what keeps delaying the actual adoption of this change. So your memory, that's the issue, because at the time we were waiting on the police department to get us their new alignment of their things. This was almost a year ago.
Yes, sir.
And the department hadn't got us that far as to what it is. And that's not to lay blame, but you also had issue with the fire department, and you all wanted one comprehensive ordinance. And so this CDL drivers have been held high by the other departments. So that's where we are. Of course, we could amend the base pay specifically just for that person at the next council meeting. But I just wanted to give you the history as to why it's in delay. Because Mr. Turner and I met about this several times. Anybody can chime in on that if you so choose, but I just wanted to update you on that history. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, that's what happened. I mean, more specifically, what we did was we had, I think there was 2 individuals who were, one was beyond the probation period, one was right at the probation period. And so what we did was we approved those 2 people being raised up to the 13, whatever. And that way we didn't have to change base pay while we waited on other departments to get whatever proposed base pay changes would come. But that's how we did it. That's why there was no permanent change made. We just addressed the individuals who needed the raise at the time.
Okay. Well, if we can tonight, cause like I say, I'm in dire need of hiring drivers. I'm driving this truck myself, and it's causing us more overtime. Cause I got another guy helping me out in Helena route, and plus he's already doing 2 more routes. So like I say, we 2 drivers, but you know we down 2 drivers. So if we can vote tonight, so we can do an advertisement, have Ms. Harper to do the advertisement, so we can go ahead and get somebody hired.
I just asked Mr. Valley, we can't do that with a resolution?
Well, you can't amend the ordinance resolution, but the thing is, if you all want to go ahead and advertise, if you all going to agree to adopt base pay without the changes to police and fire to get this done in the next council meeting, we can do that. But because you still have the issue earlier, we talked about the fire department in this meeting about their changes to base pay. And so there was Mr. Jones' department keep getting held hostage by the other departments. And that's where we're at. But if we want to do a single change to the ordinance, we could pass the ordinance and come back later and pass another ordinance. But it was the council's desire that all that be done at once because they try to look at every line to make sure that no lines have changed. But the confusion also in the past, we've had several draft ordinances that were out there, but none was adopted. So there was confusion at the council at that time. They said, okay, what is the real base pay at this point? And so that's what we were at the last time, this time last year.
So kind of what I heard you say is if it's the council's, if it's the will of the council for us to go ahead and advertise the position that way, we could move.
Yeah, the city council can advertise the position and with the understanding that they're immediately going to pass the base pay, whether the fire department, police department, anybody else get their stuff ready, that they're going to adopt the ordinance at the next council meeting, making the base pay for this person for these 2 positions $13 an hour. If they want to do that, then we're drafting that, and that'd be that. But historically, they've always wanted it all done at one time.
All right. Well, Mr. Valley, you kind of got me lost. Now, you saying the police department and the fire department, I mean, are they requiring to have CDL license?
No. We're talking about the base pay, Mr. Jones. We're not talking about the
okay.
We're simply talking about base pay.
Base pay.
And your department has been asking for a change of base pay to this.
Yes,
and the
sir.
Police department is doing some comprehensive changes. Your question is excellent. When your police department was asking for some comprehensive changes and the fire department was asking for some minor changes as well.
Okay.
And the city continued to say, well, let's do it all in one. And the issue for you is you just need this done. And so they can advertise for if they're going to go ahead and vote and say, listen, you bring back the base pay ordinance and we're going to approve that position definitely, whether we approve any other positions or not, if that's what they want to do for expediency's sake.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mayor Smith,
Yeah.
why don't you just go ahead and bring them in at $13 an hour as a contract employee and then move them over to full-time employees when we get, well, if he's already advertised and he's picked up 2, you wouldn't have to re-advertise.
No matter where, I didn't get a chance to hire them because they wouldn't take the pay. When I told them $10.13, they didn't look back.
Okay, but if you offer them the $13 an hour as a contract employee, they'd already be in as 13 when you do the ordinance. Mayor, can you do that?
I think we probably can. The only reluctance is I know that the feds don't like us going from contract to 1040 or to W. But I think they're more worried about going from W-2 to 1099s. So we'd probably be all right as long as we didn't abuse it.
Yes.
I think the cleanest thing for me is this. If they're going to be employees, then they should be employees. The question for me is by the time you do the advertisement and he's ready to hire them, you'll be at the next council meeting anyway. And so the thing
we can do that if it's the will of the council.
Right. If it's a will of the council, then they can do that. And we can make sure we have a couple of base pay ordinances drawn up by then. Because if the council doesn't want to change anything else, we can have base pay that specifically only changes this one position, and then we can have changes all of the positions that in the police and fire that they are questioning about. I'm not saying the whole police and fire. I'm saying whatever other changes there are. But I think that the practical issue is the street and sanitation department have been held hostage by us trying to do all of them at once.
I have another question. Mr. Jones says $13 an hour. Mr. Jones, were you going to start them at $12.15 after 180 days, give them that other 85 cents? Or do you want to start them at $13 an hour? If so, what would you give them after 180 days?
Okay, well, I would like to start them off with $13. I think it's 13, and it'll be left up to the council after their probation period whether they want to give them a raise. I would make the recommendation for any of my employees to get one, but I'll leave that up to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from members of the council or anybody?
Just for this issue, it seems like we can, if the body so wants to, we can approve the advertisement at the new rate. He could hire, and then we could pass an ordinance that provides the compensation even retroactively to the date of hire if we amend the ordinance. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't address this. It would be in steps, but we could address it in steps, and that way we could advertise it, they could get the pay, and then we could retroactively make that ordinance, because it may not happen in 2 weeks, but if it does happen in 2 weeks, we could make it right when we approve the ordinance. In terms of pay increases after 180 days, I guess that would have to be an independent review at the time that it happens.
Yes, sir.
But we can, I don't see why we can't approve the advertisement and then address any new individuals that come in and make sure they get the new rate.
So once we advertise it, we will, I want to get the correction on it, we will be advertising at the $13.13, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If that, the council will have to do that by motion and adopt that tonight, that you authorize the advertising.
Okay.
Mr. Etherly, would you like to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think it was Mr. Franklin, but I heard somebody else too, so I couldn't tell if there was anybody else. Otherwise, I guess Mr. Etherly makes the motion. Mr. Franklin seconds the motion to approve Mr. Jones's recommendation to advertise as a driver position at the $13 rate to be competitive and funded by ordinance later time. Did I state that? I mean, did I state that? Just say, did I state that correctly?
I have a question. Are y'all, that is Jimmy. Are y'all saying $13 or $13.13? What is the motion?
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones is saying 13.13.
Okay.
Well, that was what I understood it to be. So if I could, I'll just restate the motion to approve the advertisement at $13.13 per hour.
You got my second, Mr. Anthony, still.
Mr. Ellie makes a substitute motion. Mr. Franklin seconds the motion. Any other questions or comments? If not, call the roll.
Ford?
Yes.
Etherly?
Yes.
Franklin?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Columbia? And Davis says yes.
Right. Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Jones, do you have anything else?
No, sir. Thank y'all.
Any other questions, Mr. Jones?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Next time on the agenda, we're getting pretty close to to the bottom of it is the Sky Cops update request for funding. Chief Smith has been waiting patiently to address this issue. And let me say before he does, the Sky Cop that you see was a result of Chief Smith's grant writing, and the Sky Cops that we're about to talk about are a result of his successful grant writing. So we appreciate that. Unfortunately, USDA community facilities grants have been changed dramatically to require much bigger matching on the part of the cities. So we sent that letter out, I believe, a USDA letter that delineates the 5 things, and Mr. Valley has a draft resolution. So I'm going to recognize, though, Chief Smith and then Mr. Valley later for the resolution part. Chief Smith.
Again, this is Chief Smith, Helena-West Police Department. As everyone knows, this is phase 2 of our Sky Cop implementation for the community. The first Sky Cop was implemented back in February, somewhere around March, and that Sky Cop actually cost us approximately about $72,000. With this new system, what we're trying to do in phase 2 of the project is have pole cams. These pole cams are high resolution cameras that have tag readers, and also with the gunshots that we've been hearing in the neighborhoods, we need to get more efficient data to be able to respond to these matters that's going on in these neighborhoods. With the new Sky Cop cams, what we're looking at is 3 Sky Cop pole cams. These current pole cams have the gunshot detection, so it will detect where these gunshots are shot at in the neighborhood, along with tag readers, because what we're seeing more is that we're having more drive-bys in these neighborhoods, and these cars are driving by, and we want to be able to get the information we need to try to stop some of the crime. Also in this project, we know that because of resources and not hiring or having enough boots on the streets, we're trying to implement in many neighborhoods as we possibly can. The project itself for the 3 Sky Cop cams, with the approval of the light company to be able to place them on poles, we're looking at about $24,100 per cam. That's going to bring us to a total of $72,300. I submitted the grant in June of this year, and we're proud to announce that as of August 19th, through a community facility grant through USDA, we received $25,000. So with the remaining contribution from the city, it comes to a total of $47,300. What I am asking tonight is that with the recommendation of the council to be able to allocate some funds, those funds, to go ahead and start the process of phase 2 Sky Cop implementation. These Sky Cops have already been designed. They're just waiting on the approval and the funding to be implemented for this project. We would like, this is phase 2 of the project. What we would like to do is go into phase 3. In phase 3, afterwards, if it's approved, then we'll be able to pass a resolution to be able to obtain those funds, those grant funds. Phase 3 would be the implement of another trailer. So we're looking at, when you're talking about the trailer itself and all the bells and whistles to that, you're looking at about another $47,000 for that. But I've talked with the Mr. Turner, and I've also talked with the mayor in this. If there's any type of money that is left in the police budget, we can actually use that as well. I've also sent out several letters. I have a list of those letters asking for contributions from businesses such as Walmart, Napa, and other entities inside this community. But what we're trying to do is make everyone feel safe. The Mr. Franklin made a very valid point. We ought to be able to move these things around, but just having one, trying to put them in high crime area, it's kind of hard just putting one in one place and letting it sit there for one time. And it makes the community feel safe, especially our elderly and places of high crime areas that we've also indicated and we've also looked at as being areas of concern. And we would like to ask the council tonight, with the approval, to go ahead and help us be able to obtain these funding so we can start out implementing these 3 SkyCop cams as soon as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Valley, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, the chief summarized it all. It's just the adoption of the resolution at that point, relating to the finances that he just spoke about to accept the funds and to dedicate. And the city is going to match those funds, the amount approximately $48,000. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, sir. The amount will be $47,300 to do the matching.
I got a question. Mr. Turner, you still on the line?
Yes.
Mr. Turner, I know we do need these. So, Mr. Turner, I mean, he said if there'll be anything left over. Well, since we got the overtime grant for, was it $38,000? The Helen just applied for to cover overtime? That should free us up some money right there. So we can go ahead and move forward with this if we got that for overtime, right? Because we're paying, you said almost $100,000 in overtime. So if this, they need 38. I mean, they need 40 something more. But if this could free us up some money to be able to help, I think the sky cams are a good thing. And then I would like to say this, Mayor. I think, Mayor, you and me and some more of the council should get together and try to have some kind of workshop to try to start seeing about it. You know, because police and fire is our biggest thing. And we need to start working on seeking how do people feel about a public service tax to try to help just for police and fire to with equipment and things like sky cams. People want safety. And now, you know, we got to pay for it. You got to pay for it anyway. So I figure that you should try to spearhead a committee, get together, and let's try to say, I know they said we tax to death, but hey, I want to live in a safe community, and I think that we should try to get together. And if you don't, I will try to start going around these churches and communities and start telling people that, hey, this is what we could do with this amount of money. The police department needs this. The fire department needs this. If you want to keep your ISO rating down, if you want to keep crime down, these are the factors. This is what we have to do, because we did do a water increase. I know people ain't happy with it, but hey, the water department is not coming back to us every other week saying they need this and need that. So we need to try to get together and try to see how can we start informing the community, letting them know what's needed for our community. They elect me and you and everybody else for these positions, and they want us to make the decisions for them. So I think that now it's time to take it back and see how can we let them know that, hey, we need some help. We're not, it don't have to do with about it. And if we can get it for 2 years, at least we can cover some ground. At least we can pay the sky cans off, get more in the neighborhood, get some boots on the ground. We got to start looking at all these different things to try to make sure we can sell Helena, because Helena is a good place to live. Once you get the crime down and get these houses, these lots together, start selling Helena, start marketing Helena to be a model city, man, to be better. Because anybody trying to go nowhere, people trying to come in. We got the school districts trying to get all schools, KIPP, Helena-West, Helena, are trying to get better. We need to promote what's going on. And I think that a public service tax or something like that would help us get our community better. It takes the load off the sanitation department. It takes the load off the street department. That's just me, and I know I've said a lot, but that's where I am.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And I think we should talk about, I think when you have tax increases, people usually support it if they see something tangible for it and they really want it. And I do believe that the one Sky Cop we have deployed right now is one of the most popular things I've ever seen, not just as mayor, and effective tools. And I think it may be something that, in this case, the community might be willing to do that. And I know Mr. Valley and I were talking about it earlier today. to do it right and to do it in a way that was comprehensive, we would need additional sources of funding. Besides just, even just as you can see, our matching is still pretty substantial. So, but anyway, points were well taken. Any other comments or questions of Chief Smith or Mr. Valley?
Yeah, just I guess this is just a statement, not a comment. Well, part comment, part question. How many do we need, and what's the cost going to be? And perhaps if we get that in the form of a proposal, then we can start talking about ways to try to get there. When I say how many do we need, I mean citywide. What would we think would be the optimal numbers of sky cops that we would need in the city? What is it going to take to? What kind of manpower would it take to service those, if any? And I don't know what that entails, but hey, let's get a pie in the sky proposal together, figure out what we want and how many we need and what the cost is going to be, and see if we can sell it. I like the idea from Mr. Franklin.
Yes, to answer the question, what we want to do is, this is something that I've been working on for quite a while, is having more neighborhood watch committees and neighborhood associations. Any other city, what they try to do is get with the civic organizations, churches, and get with these individuals where if a church is in a certain neighborhood, that community comes together and raise money, and then the police department matches that, or the city matches that, to make everybody feel like their tax dollars is just not going somewhere. We just spend their money like we want to, but now it makes them a part of the plan and the vision of a better community. So that's one aspect. How many we need? Probably need them all over the community, but we have to look at raw data of where these problems are going, where are they happening, like the number streets, like your Center Street, your Anderson Street. Those streets are riddled with crime, abandoned houses, and all that. We have to get the community to buy in to start doing something where police can't be. We just got to do something, but to be honest with you, it will take several, but we have to do it in phases because of the resources, trying to get these grants out and being able to get the matching money, because that's been my biggest problem, is the matching money. It's getting the monies and the resources to be able to obtain these, but we have to do it, as we said, this is our second phase. Those cameras, based off of information and getting data from the community, that gives me an idea of where we need to place these sky cop cams, like the one we have right now. We actually need to move that. But you know, we want to make people feel safe, and we have to get the tools and change our, when you say police reform, we have to start using technology to make a better community. So that proposal, that's not a problem. The thing is implementing and letting the community speak and say, hey, I want this camera in my neighborhood, and getting everybody to be accountable and be more transparent to get that information out there to them and tell them the availability, because the sky cop cams, just like we asked them, we were just blessed to get a step ahead to be able to get even the first one, because sometimes it takes about 6 months, 7 months before you even get one. But just because of just blessings that we were able to get this first one to start implementing. So that's not a problem, if that answered your question.
Chief Smith, would you be willing to email the Sky Cop people and ask them for some recommendations along the lines of Mr. Etherly and Mr. Franklin's comments?
That's the next step. That's going to be my next step.
What would they recommend in terms of coverage and all that for our community? And do you get a discount when you bulk buy it, and what would the cost be, and so forth? And that might be one place.
I think not to cut you off, Mayor, but I think our biggest problem is the taxing. They tax us. You know, the equipment itself is constantly changing. If I got this Sky Cop cam that we already got about probably 3 or 4 months ago, it would not have all the specs that it has now. So what they actually asked, send you 2 proposals. One proposal is without the gunshot recognition, tag readers, you can take that away. You just got raw camera with just showing live information and when needed and recording. Or if you want to add something to it, that pretty much brings up your price. And being that we're in Arkansas, these Skycop cams are coming from Tennessee, they tax you on that. But the coverage is going to take pretty much us as the chief of police, the mayor, city council, to say, hey, where do we need these cameras at? And common sense right now for me is we need them in the hot spots where we have more gunshots, people laying in their bed and getting shot at. There's a problem, and we have to solve it. And sometimes it takes a little money to kind of help that out. But I have no problem in reaching out to them. They can't really tell us how many we need. We can only do this in phases, Mr. Etherly, that we can get so many this year, and hopefully we can budget it in our police budget to get some 2 or 3 next year.
And I understand that when you say in phases, you're talking about because of the cost of it. But what I'm talking about is if we figure out how many we want and need citywide. I got a call, and I don't give it. I say this all the time. I've been on the council for a number of years. It's rare that I get calls on any issue. For some reason, people don't deliver information to me. But I had a lady who called me about a week and a half ago, and she's over in that Kentucky Street area. And she never spoken to me before, but she called me, and she wanted me to know how wonderful it was that she had the Sky Cop in her neighborhood. And she said, would you please ask them at the next meeting not to move it? She said, we don't want to move. And I said, well, ma'am, it's supposed to be mobile. She said, but no, we don't want to move. We want to keep it here. And I can feel that people are fed up with the shootings and all the incidents that go on. And we literally don't have enough manpower to cover every street corner in Helena. I think people would support it. If you ask them to this is what you get for your money. This is the thing that you get. And it makes people feel safe. I think they would support it. And I really feel like if we put together, we figure out what it's going to cost, at least we might be able to sell it to our people. It's a short-term cost. This is what it's going to take. And I think people would, to stop gunfire, I think they would be willing to pay for it. And it certainly has had the effect of persuading people to go in different neighborhoods. But you want to run them out of every neighborhood where they want to congregate. And so I just feel like we ought to, I don't think we should sell ourselves short on this. Let's figure out how many we want. And let's see if the citizens want to pay for it. We have a lot of people who, we had the meeting last year where people wanted to have the meeting about crime. It feels like it was last year. This 2020 has been so long. I don't know if it was 19 or 20, but I think there's a real movement to try to figure out for people who have to live here, how to solve the crime problem. And I've heard it from so many different people from the neighborhoods and from, even people on the council, Mr. Franklin primarily just this week. There's such a movement for people to want to take on the criminal element right now. I don't think we should let this moment pass us by. Let's figure out what it costs. And if people want to do it, let's go after it right now while it's hot. And so that's why I say just figure out how many do we need. Let's see if the citizens really want to do it. I don't think the time gets any better than it is right now.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mr. Owen. Let's get late though. Mr. Valley, do you want to talk about or reiterate the resolution and then also maybe amend that to give us the authority to or to appropriate the match money for this one?
Yes, the resolution already is for $25,000. What the city council will have to do as part of this, you adopt the resolution and you're pledging that you would contribute the other $47,300 towards the Skycop cameras. So it's just a motion, a second, which I think you already have. And once you adopt it, that's that the city council is committing on the record to $47,300 as part of this grant.
Okay, you heard the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Franklin, that's a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
It's Dave a second.
Okay. I'll let y'all fight that one out, Sandy. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mayor, I'm with Mr. Anthony on this. Mayor, I think now is the time that we need to get out here because people want safety. Now is the time for you to say, for us to get, like Mr. Ellis was saying, get how many we need. We shouldn't have to call the Sky Camp people. We know we probably need a good 15 of them, at least a good 15 of them to set. You know, you're gonna have festivals when the coronavirus is over. You're gonna have festivals just like the Light on Plaza out there, out there. That'll be a good place to have that Sky Camp in case a wreck or something occurred. You have to look at, hey, we don't have to get them all at one time, but in phases. And if we could get a public service tax for the police and fire and equipment and stuff like that, that would take some of the burden off our budget. So some way we need to start working on this like tomorrow, like tonight, to tell people, hey, this is what we're doing. Because safety, that's the only way we're gonna get business to come back in here. It's just like Dragon and Woodland, they gone. And we need to try to keep folks here. I mean, we need to keep our folks working and keep them here. And I think we need to get together sooner than later to pitch something together to these folks. Election is coming. If people want it, hey, let's go for it. Let's see, can we get it?
Mr. Franklin, after the mayor, I agree. I think the thing about it is, I think you still have to give a Sky Cop in this sense. They're familiar with how they lay out cities, what's the best coverage, how many you need on poles, how many you need mobile. And if you're going to do a sales tax, I think we have to look at showing that in some type of math, because the chief is correct that you need them in high risk areas. But if you all remember, the number streets wasn't a problem years ago, but when you did the curfew and started enforcement in the center and all the people will move to other areas. So one of the things that's going to happen practically is once you do the high risk areas, they're going to move to other areas. So we have to have coverage. Yes, we need coverage in the high risk areas, but you also need other areas. And we need to see how best to do it, because some, as I said, some should be mobile, some should be stationary. And I would defer to the chief on that and the Sky Cop and that expertise as to how to best implement that. And with that, I yield to whomever else may have any statements.
Anybody else? Okay. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, Ms. Sandy, the motion on the floor is the adoption of the resolution. Sky Cops, call the roll.
Franklin,
Yes.
Crockett,
Yes.
Davis. I know she says yes. Ford,
Yes.
Etherly,
Yes.
St. Columbia. I think he's already left us. That'd be 5 yes.
All right, thank y'all. And we're moving past the base pay. We've already discussed that, fire department overtime and base pay. So that's going on the next agenda. Hopefully that'll be ready then. So we're going to go to the last item on the agenda, the Justice Complex update. Just to remind you, you authorized our city attorney, Andre Valley, and me to negotiate on behalf of the city regarding the movement of the police department out to the Woods County Justice Complex. And so I sent you a copy of a letter, or Ms. Helen did today, that we sent out today after Mr. Valley and I consulted. And if I'd had time, I'd have had him sign it too, actually. And basically, to make a long story short, what we suggested as a counter, I guess you might say, is that the county, this is an opportunity to rework how we do the 911 system and dispatch that was first originally established many years ago. Right now, the city has been operating that program for the whole county for many years, and we get $24,000 a year to help offset what is probably more like $200,000. We have $300,000 budgeted, but for just 911, this don't hold me to this, but approximately 200 or so thousand. So that's really not that much, and nobody else pays into that system except our city. So the counter proposal on that was that we adopt first of all, that there should be either the county run 911 or the city, but not both. There need to be a clear chain of command, not one of these where everybody's a boss and nobody's a boss, and those kind of conflicts that just are a recipe for disaster for something as important as 911. So either the county or the city, but either way, a pro rata share of what each city and the county should be paying to operate the 911 system should be agreed to and assessed everybody in the county. So if the county were to do it, we would pay whatever we agreed to was a fair assessment. And if we run it instead of the county, then other cities and the county, I guess, arguably would pay a prorated share to us to help offset our operational costs. That's number one. Number two was that we would offer to move in January 1st, 2021 on an annual lease with a 90-day notice if either party wanted to get out of that clause. And that we pay actual costs of utilities prorated according to our square footage occupied, as well as shared based on negotiation. So that's pretty much it. Mr. Valley, you want to add to that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The issue with it is, I believe that when we looked at the numbers, Mr. Turner gave us numbers that we were spending $331,000 on employees, and the county is spending approximately $7,000 a month or $84,000 for equipment. And the one thing that the mayor left out was Mr. Hall. He met with us and he said that they're going to move the 911 equipment to the new facility. But in essence, if that's the case, then the police department would be compelled to move there because the 911 equipment would be there. There's two different portions. 911 communications, approximately $4,000 a month is what the county's paying. And then the communication within the department, that's approximately $3,000 a month. And that's how we get the $7,000. But the issue that we were concerned about, the mayor and I and the chief, is that the county's proposal is that the employees still remain city employees and county employees, but it creates all kind of problems. The problem one it creates would be difference in pay, difference. The city doesn't give bonuses, county give $2,000 bonus, difference in vacation days and all those things. Then a difference in who's the leader, because if the chief is not there and the sheriff wants to give instruction, then that's a problem. The new layout shows just one office, so dispatch will be in one central office, and that was a very important point for look at. But the mayor of the net has covered all of it that we discussed, and that was a proposal. He met with me, and he and I have met numerous times about this, and those were our gleanings as a counter offer to the county's offer, so that we can move forward. Because if other people contribute, I don't know how it is. This is an unusual relationship. The mayor can speak to that as well. That the city has been bearing the cost of the dispatches for the county for all the years that this 911 system has been out there. It's the county's responsibility, but we've borne the cost. And the county has dispatchers, but the 911 system itself has been paid for by the city. And so anything that we would get from the county or the other municipalities would be a savings to us, and we believe that when we do that, that's in the best interest to citizens of the city of Helena-West and the city itself. With that, I yield to the mayor.
Yeah, I think we covered it. any questions? And then the letter is probably a little bit more comprehensive in covering it, but any questions or comments about that? Of either one of us. I think we're all getting tired. But feel free to read that letter. You don't have to do anything, I don't think, tonight. We just wanted to make sure you saw the letter and bring it up on the agenda. But at any rate, if you would get back with either Mr. Valley or myself or both of us, give us your feedback on it, and I'm sure we'll be proceeding accordingly with the county on this as well, and we'll let you know how that develops. All right. If there's no other comment or questions about that item, then we're at the end of our agenda. There's nothing else on our agenda. Is there any other business to come before the council?
Mayor, like I said, when you were going to meet with the people about the fishing tournament, Ms. Crockett and I had asked about the code enforcement truck. It was to see what was the update about that, about getting a new code enforcement truck or mileage or something of that sort that we had talked about, but you were gone, and there was an issue about getting a new code enforcement truck.
Well, we took the old truck and believe, I don't know if Bobby's still on here, but we needed a truck at the landfill, and we took the lights off of it, and we did get it repaired. I think it was a water pump, and it's working fine now. The issue specifically, as I see it, we need things like sky cops. We're about to need, we really already need more squad cars. The water department needs them. The entire city government is due for an overhaul on our fleet. So in that specific case, the person who would be driving it has really taken on the role that was played by Dallas, who did most of the office work and didn't require a car either, and didn't ask for one. Most of the office stuff involves the permits and the paperwork that happens, the letters that go out and so forth. And so it didn't seem like a priority at this point. And if we ever do get a third code enforcement officer, I think that would change.
So what are you saying is now that the second code enforcer, who has been the one who has actually been out there getting paid to have people paying to have their houses torn down, he's now in the office?
I'm not sure I followed you, but we had 3 code enforcement officers.
Yes.
And Dallas Smith, who's no longer with us, was in the office and did most of the computer and office work, letters. And as you all recall, she left for a job outside of another city, and that position was not filled, and we actually eliminated the position. So at this point, the person in the offices of our 2 code enforcement officers, another, I hate using names on the internet, but I mean in public, but one of our code enforcement officers has been detailed to take over the work that Dallas did do. It's extremely important work. The paperwork has to be done. And so basically we have an office person and a field person instead of 2 field people and an office person. And the office person before didn't require a vehicle. And I think if we ever go back to that, then I think it's a different story. But right now we have a lot more pressing costs and needs and issues in other parts of the city. And it really wouldn't be fair to them to single out one position that doesn't really require it right now. So that's my position on it.
Mayor, I'm not understanding what you're saying. Are you saying that you think we don't need but one code enforcer in the field right now? The other one needs to be in the office? Is that what you're saying?
No, ma'am, I'm saying that's the way it is because we
But
eliminate
why,
the third
it's
position.
pressing to me to have these houses torn down and all that. So I don't understand why you're saying that it's not pressing. And this is just my opinion. I saw a lot of work being done with the houses being torn down. Then all of a sudden it stopped. And that's when I found out that the second code enforcer had been put in the office. So I don't think it's appropriate to pay somebody that kind of money to sit in the office when we need all of this stuff done in the city. And then that's just like the code enforcer that get paid $30,000. You said that was because they did dog catcher stuff. It was a call made to him about dog catcher. He said he don't do that no more. So I don't understand what's really going on, but maybe this should be a conversation for another time. But I think we need the second code enforcer need a vehicle so that we can continue to get this city cleaned up.
Well, I would submit
just my personal opinion.
I would submit that the council reconsider its decision to eliminate the third position because it's just as important to have somebody in that office full time because this is very much a paperwork job. And the houses have not slowed down any. I don't know if Mr. Jones is still on here, but most of the houses that have been torn down in the field have been a cooperative project between Mr. Williams and Mr. Jones, but not without the paperwork that's done in the office with Mr. Valley and our other code enforcement officers. So they're all very pressing. What we really need is to fill that third position, which at the time I wasn't going to fill until we saw more about the impact of COVID. At this point, it looks like we would be safe in filling that position financially, and I would recommend the council reinstate that position, and we'll advertise it. And then when we fill it with somebody who replaces what Dallas Smith did, then we can have a third person in the field, and I would love to have it like it was. So if the council wants to reinstate that position, we'll go forward, and I'll do my best to get another code enforcement truck. But we had a code enforcement truck, and I'd submit to you, it wasn't perfect, but none of our vehicles are perfect. And it's out there right now. It wasn't being used, but we needed it, and we used it somewhere else.
Amen.
Right now. So this comes down to day-to-day operations. One of the reasons you don't see some of this is because you're not there every day. But the best recommendation I can give to you, if you care about this issue, is to reinstate that third position. And so we can put him back out in the field instead of the office.
Hey, Mayor, this is just Chris Franklin. What happened, nobody got rid, and I think we put a freeze on that position because you had two people, Mayor, and and this is not to be confrontational, but I'm just going to tell you like this. I don't think you should hold the citizens hostage like that because those ladies in that office, I hate to call it, they know who they are, Miss Sandy ladies have been doing the job, and most of the houses have been getting condemned. You said that Mr. Williams' name on it. No, sir. Mr. Gant name has been on those houses, and I think we shouldn't play like that because, right now we were just my goal was to try to make sure that we had enough money because people getting overtime and all these things. But Mayor, Mr. Gant is doing a good job. Mr. Williams, on the other hand, I'm not going to judge it because I don't know. I see Mr. Gant, but I think that we shouldn't really do that. I would hope that you would get a truck because Mr. Gant has gotten the house that Mrs. Mary Ann Taylor was discussing about. People don't know how houses get torn down. It's a process. The city tries to make some money off tearing down the house for gas, for tires, for things like that may happen. And people can pay $2,000, $1,000, or $500, whatever they can pay to have the house torn down. That goes to the city to help in case tires on the trucks get messed up. We shouldn't do that. It's like we're playing a game. We almost at the end of the year. If you want that position so badly, hey, let's finish it out. I mean, Miss Smith left. She was out just like Mr. Gant and Mr. Williams were out. But man, things are changing. And I only did that because we didn't. You said that it was kind of slow for the code enforcement. If the guy's doing dog catch and code enforcement, what you gonna do? Let him be free to be a 24-hour dog catcher? And I'm not trying to be messy. I just want to make sure we're getting this right. The code enforcement is moving in the right direction now. Please do not slow Mr. Gant down. He is moving in the right direction. And you telling us if we would fund the position, it's just froze. You hadn't had any interest in hiring anybody these last couple of meetings we had. You hadn't. Because if you had, you say, hey, listen, I'm ready to fill that position. I would like for y'all to make the recommendation for me to open this position up so I can fill it so that we can move forward. Okay. But the people in the wait.
I'll ask you to do that right now.
Wait. I didn't interrupt you, man.
I just ask you to do that now. Can you do that? We'll advertise it and fill it.
No, sir. No, sir.
Who eliminated it? Mr. Franklin, you were.
I didn't eliminate it. I just froze the funds because.
No, you certainly did. You cut.
Hey, listen, Mr. Mayor. We're not going to argue about this.
Anybody down.
You know, I'm not going to argue about this because I don't want it to be perceived that we're arguing. You want to force somebody to do something that you want them to do. All I'm saying is this, Mayor. You could have, the code enforcer, Mr. Gant, is doing a wonderful job in getting things done. People don't see the need to why you want to freeze him and free the other person that's not getting anything done. And I'm not criticizing him, but I see Gant's work. I see what he's doing. And you're like, well, maybe I'm gonna make them give me something. No, sir. I mean, that's not fair. You holding the citizen hostage, but you're trying to make it the picture like I just did it. No. You were saying how funds were getting low. This before the COVID happened. That we need to try to save some money. And I thought that was the best thing to hold off some money to see which way we were going before the coronavirus hit, to see which way we was going. I thought that would be the best thing. I didn't eliminate anything. I froze it. The money's still there. If you want to, if you never mind. Mr. Mayor, you continue. I'm going to be quiet.
Well, let me ask you again. Are you willing to unfreeze it then? Because the only reason I haven't filled it is because of the motion you made to eliminate it. So if you're willing to make a motion to unfreeze it and reinstate it, then we'll advertise for it. But in the meantime, we have to have somebody in that office. It's equally as important as the field work. And the reason you think he's done a lot, and I'm not here I'm certainly complimentary of his work, but it's because he signs the paperwork. That somebody has to go make sure the gas is turned off, the electricity's turned off. And all
that stuff is turned off, Mayor, when the house burns down. That stuff is turned off when the house is burned down. See, Mayor, listen, I don't want to argue, but the thing about this is that you trying to hold whatever I did. Yes, I froze it because I felt like before the coronavirus hit, this happened. And I said, well, we got to try to save some money because at the end of the year, here you come with these magical surprises. We didn't have this, we didn't have that. Let's be clear, and in the paper as well. I didn't eliminate anything. We was trying to save some money because we was at a hard time. The coronavirus is a curse, but it sure kind of helped the city out that we're doing much better. So you shouldn't be like saying, oh, well, I feel like that you all did. Nobody's trying to cripple anybody, but Mr. Gant is getting things done. Now, whether you like it or not, I'm not trying to dismiss your guy who you praise and like. I'm not doing that. I don't want to argue about this. Hey, we need to, okay, how about this? I'll meet with you tomorrow. We can discuss that. That's all I'm gonna say. Because I'm not gonna disrespect you or your position. I really wish that sometimes it's like this. If the people would look at the meeting tonight, everything you wanted, you push it. You want us to do it now. Time is of the essence. We ask you to do something, we gotta wait on hands and pins and needles to make sure that we can do what the mayor wants. But the mayor never does what the council wants. It's your fault. This is not a blame game. It's all about our city. And if that's the way you feel about it, that's the way you feel about it. I'm
Okay. All right. Any other discussion about that issue? Okay. Any other business to come before the council? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I thought Ms. Helen had needed some information tonight about a mediation.
Oh, I think that's true. Mr. Valley, did you, or Ms. Helen, if she's on?
Yes, the mediation of Joyce Austin, if you all recall, the last mediation was scheduled and it was postponed due to a death in the mediator's family, Judge Bell, and you were sent a list of dates, and we were trying to see which of those dates, so I can communicate back to both of them as to what date is good for us to do the mediation for the George Austin matter.
Can you give me those dates again, Mr. Valley? I don't have them present.
Yes, ma'am, I can. Looking through my phone for the text message that was sent. They were October 2nd around 10 o'clock, October 6th, approximately 1 o'clock. It was October 7th. There was no time on that date. October 12th, October 13th, or October 15th at around noon. Those were the dates that we provided by Attorney Philip Allen.
Any day is good for me, but I would prefer like after lunch, the 1 o'clock. But I'll go with the majority.
Anybody else want to chime in on the dates, times? October 2nd, 6th, 7th, 12th, 13th through 15th. And there's an email out there about it too, I think, from Ms. Helen, as Ms. Wanda pointed out. Any other comments or questions about the mediation dates?
Is October 14th good for you all?
I'm fine with it.
What time? What time?
October 14th, not on that. October the, let me look back at my calendar. October the 12th would be a Monday. Time, he's saying noon or sometime afternoon.
That's fine with me.
That's fine.
October 12th?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have anything to say about October 12th?
Well, Ms. Fowle, if you would send that out.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
October 12th at noon.
Send that out tomorrow to everybody again, and let's see if we can get everybody else once they have a chance to look at their calendars to commit to something. Okay, any other business to come before the council tonight?
Mayor, I got one thing before we go. And this is just for the record. With this code enforcement position, so I'm the only one that got rid of this position?
You made the motion, if I recall.
Well, that means the whole body voted for it. Just don't single me out like that. I think you should know we all did this. So that's what that is.
I encourage
you don't get a vote in that though. You don't get a vote. We do.
Yeah, but
so
I have
the whole city. Next time when you say something like that, we, the whole body, not Chris Franklin, because I don't control the whole city council. I'm just one vote. They must have felt the same way I felt. So don't just single me out like I did it. Everybody was on that call that night. We did it together as a team. I'm not the team by myself. I'm part of a team. Let's remember that.
Ms. Franklin, I'm just pointing out, you can't have it both ways. You can't make a motion to eliminate the position and then say we need to do more about code enforcement.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm gonna tell you like this. What is going on right now is the greatest thing ever. So you're not gonna get what
you can make that motion.
So I'm not doing anything. I said what I said, and it's done. So if that's the way you want to cripple it, you can blame me all you want. But the whole body did it. So evidently they felt the same way I feel.
The whole body can undo it, and you can make the motion tonight to undo it.
Mayor,
so I invite you to do that.
Mayor, you can't invite me to do anything. Just like, see, I'm gonna let you go. You have a great night. I thank you all for listening to my concerns. Mayor, you have a great.
Did I hear a motion to adjourn?
Ms. Crockett?
Yes.
Ms. Crockett moves adjournment.
Second.
Miss Davis and Miss. I think that was two.
There's no objection. Thank you for hanging in there, to you and all the guests and the media for what was a long but very busy meeting. So thank you all very much. Have a good evening.